Okay, so we're going to talk about the whole grain-free thing. The fact is that there is truly only extremely small, and I mean extremely small percentage of dogs where grains may be an issue. Dogs just don't get Crohn's disease like people do, and there's not a lot of proof of grains being a true problem. Grain-free is big on the human side right now. As you can see, gluten-free is big, gluten sensitivity, celiac disease and all of that stuff. And celiac disease is a real thing, but maybe the grain-free thing on the human side is there's some PR there and some dieting stuff there. But what happens is that we as humans kind of envision our pets as very similar to us, and PR people take advantage of that, which means that even if your dog needs grains actually to be healthy, because they do get proteins and other things out of them, but people like buying grain-free because it's big to be grain-free on the human side as well. So to me, a lot of it is just marketing. If I have well, let's back up and say most dogs with allergies have environmental allergies, and it's not true food allergies. In fact, true food allergies is about 20% of dogs with allergies, which means that changing the food may help a little bit with the itching, but it's probably not the food, it's probably the time of year and the pollens that are out there. So that's an issue that you need to remember. The other thing too is that true food allergies are typically the proteins, so the meats that are in that diet, which means that one of the things I ask people all the time when I see them for their allergy dogs is, if you did a food change and they got better, what was the protein? It usually has nothing to do with the fact that you went grain-free on it. Again, and even with cats, there's one research study with cats that shows maybe cats have some grain allergies, but frankly, to even be able to prove that your animal is grain sensitive, you have to do a true diet trial. And that does not mean changing over-the-counter foods. That drives me nuts. It's a little bit of pet peeve when doctors and people do that. And I'm going to explain why, and it's going to make total sense. So, food allergies in animals can be like peanut allergies in people, which most people are aware of. Peanut allergies are a thing. So you know how if you look at a package and you read on the back of it, some of them will say processed in the same facility as peanuts, tree nuts, wheat, things like that. And it's because even though that food doesn't have peanuts in it, there may be some residue from that factory. And if you have a person that's truly sensitive, well, I should say extremely sensitive to peanuts, then they could potentially react to those microscopic peanut residue particles that are in that bag. Food allergies in dogs are the same way, which means that, for example, if your dog is allergic to chicken, and you switch them to a beef diet, just for example, if that food is made in the same facility as the chicken diet, they can still react. And it's not because they're reacting to the beef, it's because they're reacting to the chicken residue. It literally is a super small amount. So what you want to do with an actual diet trial is put your dog on a prescription food allergy food, either a novel protein. So what that means is a protein they've never been on before, and Royal Canin has a great line of that, or what's called a hydrolyzed diet, and it has to be prescription. Can't do another over-the-counter food because of those microscopic residues. It's just not going to be super accurate. It may help, but it's really not the best way to do it. So you feed them this prescription food for a period of time, and your veterinarian can discuss with you for how long. And then what you do is challenges. So what that means is that if you're worried about a grain allergy, once they've been on this food and we've determined that your dog is a food allergy dog, you give them grains. Just grains, nothing else. And if they're going to react, you're going to notice it very quickly. They start itching, chewing their feet, maybe their ears get red, maybe they have stomach upset. You're going to notice all of that. That's really the only way to prove if your animal, and this is true for dogs and cats, if your animal has a true grain sensitivity. Okay, so the other issue that has come out with the grain-free diets is that grains do serve a purpose in nutrition. And so what that means is that if you have a grain-free diet, you have to replace those grains with something else to make up for those nutritional things. And what we've discovered is the things that have replaced grains in these diets lack taurine, or those particular items, potatoes, legumes are kind of the big ones, actually will bind to taurine in the diet and cause an insufficiency. So taurine is essential for proper health. Heart health, sorry. So what that means is that if your animal is on a diet that has low taurine levels and potentially causes lower taurine levels in their body, we now know that those dogs are developing heart disease, heart murmurs, and a disease called dilated cardiomyopathy, where the heart enlarges, and potentially heart failure and death. So that's a big deal, which means that unless your dog, we have proven that your dog or cat has a true grain allergy, there's no reason why you need to be spending a ton of money on a boutique food that's grain-free. It's really not necessary, and you could actually be doing more harm than good. If you have your dog or cat on a grain-free diet and they don't need it, I strongly suggest trying to get them on a diet that is well balanced and put together by a veterinary nutritionist. We're going to talk about byproducts in a different video, because I think that's another big thing. Oh, byproducts are scary, and if I see that on the bag, it's a bad thing. And it's really not, but we're going to touch on that later. But my point in all of this is that if your dog also or cat needs to be on a grain-free diet, then or you just don't want to switch, which is okay, but we need to discuss about potentially putting them on a grain-free diet that has extra taurine added, and most of the boutique foods don't, or add taurine to their diet. Or the other option is we can actually run a blood test that checks blood taurine levels, and if it's low, then start a supplementation. All things that we can talk about. Like I said in my last video, I love nutrition. Set up an appointment, come in and see me, and we will discuss all the different options with you. But again, I cannot emphasize enough, unless there's proven grain issues, then it's really not necessary to be super picky with that food. What you want to focus on is well balanced, and that it has all the nutrients that your animal needs to be as healthy as possible.